So the next two presentations are somehow associated, but I was told there will be a group of students to brief on the Cambridge study tool, and then we'll start with a group on academic learning experience. I know there will be a group of students, and the group of students who will be presenting, stand up, please. Yes. Let's welcome them.
So I'm going to introduce ourselves first. So I'm Thomas from Wichita, and I'm a year 4 student.
I'm Kelly from Lady Hong Kong Hall, and I'm year 2 student.
Hello, I'm Jenny, and I'm from St. John's College, and I'm a year 2 student as well.
I'm Isaac from University Hall.
I'm Royce from Arthur Hall. I'm also a year 2 student.
In the previous study tour to Cambridge, we have a taste of the Cambridge education by attending the institution there, just like the tutorial class in Hong Kong U. So in the following presentation, we will analyze the environment and the university position in the society and the trend in the two universities. And at the end, we will try to recommend some changes or enhancement. So let's start with the environment part.
Thank you, Thomas. So now we're going to talk about the environment of UK and Hong Kong U. And so let us first begin with the environment background of the UK. The United Kingdom consists of 4 countries united under one monarchy government. And the education system consists of 7 years of high school and 3 years of university education. And there are also public exams like the Common Entrance exams, GCSEs, etc. And the UK is the home to top universities such as University of Cambridge and University of Oxford. So for the education, the high school in the UK, there are different private schools, and every class there are 20 students. And also the students are encouraged to speak up in class and to think critically. So they emphasize that the students should ask some questions, unlike those in Hong Kong. And also the teachers take a different approach in teaching, where talking are not banned in class, but it is very highly encouraged. And for most high schools in the UK, they aim to produce all-rounded students. And not only should they get straight A stars, but they also need to have a critical mindset. And for the universities in the UK, they tend to favor students that show capability in different aspects, apart from academic results. And they also favor a lot of other extracurricular activities such as sports events, and like rugby, hockey, and netball. And so we'd like now to compare and contrast it to the Hong Kong education background. And for the education in Hong Kong, it is always criticized for its exam-oriented nature, because we always have different public exams to attend to, like the cert levels, A levels, and also now the Diploma of Secondary Education, DSE. And also the Hong Kong education system is always said to be very spoon-feeding, and the rote learning nature is like memorizing all the information but not understanding the knowledge of it. And so that in March of 1987, the Education Advisory Inspector of Hong Kong Education Bureau, they pointed out that there is an excessive amount of mechanical and meaningless homework in the Hong Kong education system. So, and also the research shows that for primary school students, they have to do 2 hours of schoolwork per day, which is very demanding. And we have all sorts of ET words like IES, independent inquiry study, OLE, other learning experience, student learning portfolio, SBA, and extracurricular activities. And so all sorts of this workload adds to the burden of the students. And we find that the quantity is like, we treasure the quantity more than the quality of work, and this is the main problem of the Hong Kong education system. And so for the history education, the Hong Kong Education Bureau, they try to reform the history education because they think that it is ineffective national identity after learning the history. And so that is the introduction of the liberal studies subject. And we want to absorb and understand material rather than the rote learning, like memorizing all the text and the factual information. And so now we move on to talk about the university position in society.
Okay, thank you, Jay. So to evaluate the performance of Cambridge University and the University of Hong Kong, we have to pay attention on the origins of the two universities and the expectation from the British and Hong Kong societies. So in the following part, we're going to compare them. Okay. So the mission and the initiators of the two universities different at the very beginning. 800 years ago, University of Cambridge grows out of an association of the scholars from the University of Oxford after a dispute with the town people there. And it is remarkable that the Cambridge academic attempt to establish an university, but it is suppressed by the kings in 1265, which means that it is not welcomed by all at the very beginning. And on the other side, the University of Hong Kong was established under the call of the governors, Lucas, and Lucas suggests absorbing local talents into the administrative system in the colony in his famous book, The Due Mandates of British Tropical Africa. So, however, at that time, both British and Chinese merchants were not enthusiastic in this project, as the Chinese think that they have no way to monitor the universities, and the British merchants think that will it make the Chinese more competitive in the business area at that time. So we can see the difference between them. So the University of Cambridge was formed by some scholar who wants a peaceful pace from Oxford to continue their studies and teachings. And on the other side, together with the establishment with the Kennington Railway and the Hong Hospital and Post Office at the same time, we think that the establishment of the University of Hong Kong should be regarded as a milestone of the British government in the Hong Kong history.
So in our tour in Cambridge, we found that throughout her 800-year history, the University of Cambridge was in conflict with the villagers there for several times and was under the threat of total destruction in the civil wars. But despite this, the University of Cambridge enjoys high reputation in the country and around the world. And it is believed that she is one of the best places to study and explore. However, things are different in Hong Kong. In general, the mass and employers are pragmatic and think that unless you are a university graduate, you have no chance to get a ticket to the job. As a result, we can say that many people enter the university mainly for the graduation and for the certificate. Being the only university in Hong Kong till 1966, HKU was responsible to educate potential officers of the colonial government, providing the talent which the society needed at that time. So to sum up, you may see the table. We can see that the mission of University of Cambridge is merely academic, while HKU was formed with political purpose. And Hong Kong society expected HKU students will contribute to Hong Kong's development in a more pragmatic way.
So I'll talk about the teaching in the university. Indeed, this Cambridge tour was organized 2 years ago, and they also invited some more schools to join it. But this time, there's a bit difference that we actually are lucky enough to be given the opportunity to attend the lecture and supervision in Cambridge University. So to make use of this experience, we try to draw some evaluations of the teaching quality in the University of Hong Kong. First, I'll talk about the academic achievements in Cambridgeshire. I think we're all familiar with the excellent academic results in the Cambridge University for its Nobel Prize winners. There are 90 Nobel Prize winners since 1904, and the Cambridge University is the holder of more than 350 patents. We can also know that the students are very enthusiastic in learning and also doing research. And the assessment in the Cambridge University has also been very intense. We met an exchange student who is studying law in HKU, that he has gone to Cambridge University for a 1-year exchange. And he tried to compare the workload of the Hong Kong U and the workload in Cambridge. And he described to us that the workload in Cambridge University was 10 times more than that in HKU. So we can see the assessment and the workload in Cambridge University has been much more intense than that in HKU. And there's also something similar between the Cambridge University and Hong Kong U. That's the college life, but in HKU we call them our whole life. In Cambridge University, there are 5 elements in the college, including their library, their supervision, their chapel, their accommodation, and the catering. And we received comments from the students there that there's really little leisure in the university, so they spend most of the time studying when they're staying, even when they're staying in the college. In the college, there have been bars which offer discounts for drinking, but there have been really few students going to the bars because they have much workload to follow. They also have inter-college competitions organized by students themselves, but compared to those competitions in Hong Kong U, they are of rather smaller sizes. And here comes our comments on the teaching quality in HKU. And of course, these mostly come from our personal experience, but apart from our personal experience, we also try to consult different classmates and hallmates to really try to make some evaluations on teaching quality. So first, we think that the teaching in HKU is totally non-interactive when compared to that in Cambridge U. And for the lectures, we attended a lecture on criminal law in Cambridge University. And in that lecture, the teacher did not use a single PowerPoint slide, unlike most of the tutors in HKU. And I personally think that using PowerPoint slide isn't a problem, but the problem is that the tutors have been relying too much on PowerPoint slides. Some have also been reading the points out rather than really teaching. And the presentation skills and the language of lecturers are also have been varying very much. So some tutors may speak fluent English, but some may be speaking a bit too unclearly. And for the tutorials, there's a structural difference. And in Cambridge, they are called supervisions, and they're of really small sizes. It's about 1 tutor to 2 to 3 students in their college. But in HKU, most of the tutorials are among, I think, 8 to 10, or even I attended a tutorial of 20 classmates. And therefore, the tutor cannot pay attention to every student, and the students do not have enough time to explore more of their topics. And throughout the tutorials in Hong Kong U, I also found that there have been really few Q&A interactions. So in Cambridge University, their participation and their performance in the supervision are not counted in any of their assessment criteria. But in HKU, the most important thing when you're going to a tutorial is to participate. And that means to speak up, and you cannot ask stupid questions because the tutor will be very likely to deduct your marks. So, and the tutor comments have been too general. So whatever you ask and whatever you say, tutors are very likely to give similar comments. So I think they're not responsive and specific enough. And lastly, we also like to give some comments on the quality of tutors. And some of us think that the quality of tutors have been too varied because some of the tutors may just want to be tutors because they want to earn the funding as to continue their PhD. But some of the tutors have, of course, some of the tutors have been really passionate. So we found this major difference in the quality of tutors. And another thing is the evaluation of courses and the tutors. I think most of us would be asked to complete the SETL at the end of every course or every course we have attended. But I think doing it at the end of the course has been too late because no students would care what the tutors act like after their mark is given. It's like if you finish your course, then you don't have to care the student next year. So if we are relying on the evaluation only at the end of the course, I think it's really a failure because no students would care. And there's also a problem in language courses. I think we have the CAES and the Chinese courses, and we think they're not enhancing the students' language standard really much because some of them may only teach how to write academic essays, but they omit the use of fluent language during presentation or doing homework. And we have friends that attended foreign language courses, but he was disapproved due to unknown reason. And we found that most of the foreign language courses have really little quota. And some attend the foreign language classes because they had learned it before they get into university and earn high grades to push their average GPA. So I think this is a very important thing that the foreign language courses have not been offering enough quota. And there's also some problems in the common core. And I think the system of disapproval is a bit weird because you get disapproved but you don't know why, and you got pushed to some unpopular courses. And you're forced to choose unpopular courses in order to finish one of the quota of the common course. So the quota of the courses have not been flexible at all. And generally, we also think the courses in HKU have been too career-oriented, and the students have been too exam-oriented. They do past papers other than they read the lecture notes. And there's also a distant relationship between tutors and students. We do not mean that after the course you really have to be friends with the tutors, but we think what we did in Cambridge University is that the tutors during supervision, they have been really responsive and answering your questions, so they're answering your difficulties directly. But in HKU, since they're not interactive enough, so we cannot tackle the problem at the root. And there will be some recommendations of the problems we've just mentioned.
Okay, thank you, Ross. So, here on the problems of teaching in Hong Kong U, we made several kinds of recommendations. And first of all, for the interaction between lecturers, tutors, and students, we make several kinds of recommendations. For lecturers, there should be more interactive activities in the future. I remember that when I was having a course about social division, the lecturer really tried to use many creative activities for us to understand more about the social division. So I think it should be much encouraged for other lecturers so different students can understand more about different theories. And also for the lecturers, for the choice of lecturers, Hong Kong U should not just focus on achievement in their academic field. I think that for a lecturer, he knows how to do a mathematics, but he may not know how to teach. So I think passion, language skills, and teaching skills are also crucial for being lecturer. For tutorials, I think that we think that the tutorial size should not be too large, so the interaction between tutors and students should be more intense. We can have shorter time for the tutorial, but I think that we should have more interaction. For example, when the tutorial size is 4 to 5 students a group, and then we can have more interaction with the tutors. We may ask him or her more questions. It will become a more successful tutorial. And students should be required to read the materials, or else we are just going to the tutorials and just sitting there and answering the tutor's question without really using the knowledge we should learn in the course. And for the interaction, it is not just about the interaction between students and tutors, but also students to students. Like when a student answers a question, the tutors may encourage other students to give comments to the answer that the student just gave. So also for the answers of questions tutors gave to his or her students, she should not just give the final answer right or wrong, but should provide more guidance for students to find their final answers. Because we think that not everything have a definite answer. So also for the tutors, I think that we should do have more variety for choosing tutors. May not be really postgraduate students, but also try to find other lecturers that may be retired also, but he or she may be welcome to join the lecture to teach the students too. So for the evaluation of courses and tutors, we think that the evaluation should be compulsory, or else students do not want to spare his or her leisure time to do the evaluation, and also the evaluation should be more frequent. For the evaluation right now, usually it will take part in the end of the semester, but we think that once in the middle of the semester should be helpful in improving the teaching of lecturers and tutors, or else when it comes to the end of the semester, nothing can be improved. For language courses, we think that more encouragement should be given to students, for example, subsidy or higher chance for exchange. And also we should think of the necessity of CAES too, as many students have reflected to us that CAES may not be really helpful in their university life. Also, for common course, we should have more, the resources should be rearranged because according to the interest of the students. And for the courses being career orientated, we should equally distribute the coursework and exam. So there will not be some courses that do not need to have examinations. And there should be more case studies for students to apply their theory learned from the courses. And for the academic advisor, we think that the matching of academic advisor should be according to their faculty and major too, so it can fit the expectation of the students. So this is the end of our presentation.
Thank you very much. We have the brief downstairs for that. Thank you, all of you, and this was great. Thank you.